She awoke on a deserted island, her clothes soaked, hair matted with sand, and no sign of her friends. As she stood up, she realized she was completely alone, or so she thought. To her surprise, she was surrounded with men. 500 men to be exact. They appeared hardened and tough, their bodies sculpted by years of labor and survival. Not a single woman could be seen. She stumbled upon a village filled with men. 500 men to be exact. They appeared hardened and tough, their bodies sculpted by years of labor and survival. Not a single woman could be seen. The men looked at Zainab with amazement and curiosity, for it had been decades since any of them had seen a woman. Zainab's presence sparked whispers among them, but they kept their distance, unsure how to approach her. She too was cautious, feeling the weight of 500 pairs of eyes on her. Zainab soon learned that these men had been stranded on the island for years after a pirate shipwreck. The island was remote, hidden from trade routes, making rescue impossible. Over time, the men had formed a community, surviving off the island's resources. Despite their isolation, the men had developed a strict hierarchy. At the top was Jabari, a former captain of the pirate ship. His leadership kept order, but he was a man of few words, known for his strength and unyielding authority. Zainab realized that his approval would be crucial for her survival. Jabari invited Zainab to a feast, a gesture of respect and welcome. The other men gathered around, eager to hear her story. She spoke of her life before the wreck, her family, and her dreams of adventure. The men listened in awe, reminded of the world they had long forgotten. As the days passed, Zainab began to understand the dynamics of the island. The men were divided into groups based on their skills: hunters, builders, fishermen, and warriors. They had created a system of barter and trade, exchanging goods to meet their needs. Zainab noticed how different the men were. Some were kind and helpful, offering to teach her how to hunt or fish. Others, however, looked at her with dark intent, seeing her as an object rather than a person. This made her wary, as the balance of power on the island was fragile. One day, while gathering water from a stream, Zainab was confronted by a group of men who demanded she become their wife. They argued that a woman could not live alone and that it was their right to claim her. Zainab, fiercely independent, refused, knowing that giving in would mean losing her freedom. The confrontation soon reached Jabari's ears. He summoned the men involved and scolded them harshly, reminding them of the rules they had lived by for years. Jabari's word was law, and anyone who defied him faced exile from the village. The men backed down, but the tension lingered. Despite Jabari's protection, Zainab knew she had to remain vigilant. The island was no paradise, and while Jabari had power, she sensed his desire for control extended to her. She needed to find a way to navigate the delicate balance of power without losing herself. Zainab began forging alliances with some of the more trustworthy men. She learned how to trap small animals for food, how to navigate the forest's hidden paths, and how to defend herself. With each passing day, she grew stronger, both physically and mentally. But the island's peace was short-lived. One night, a group of rebellious men, tired of Jabari's rule, began plotting to overthrow him. They believed that with Zainab's presence, they could challenge the old ways and establish a new order, one where women were subservient to men. Zainab, overhearing their plans, knew she had to act fast. She warned Jabari, understanding that despite his flaws, his leadership was the only thing keeping the island from descending into chaos. Together, they devised a plan to quell the rebellion before it could gain momentum. On the night of the rebellion, Jabari's loyal men gathered at the village center, armed and ready. The rebels, led by a man named Adebayo, stormed the village, believing they could take control by force. What they didn't expect was Zainab standing alongside Jabari. Zainab's presence shocked the rebels. She wasn't the weak woman they thought she was. Armed with a spear, she fought alongside the men, defending the village from those who sought to enslave her. Her bravery inspired others, and soon the rebellion was crushed. After the battle, Jabari approached Zainab, his respect for her growing. He acknowledged her strength and independence, offering her a place by his side as an equal, not as a subordinate. Zainab, however, declined, preferring to carve her own path on the island. With the rebellion behind them, the island settled into a new rhythm. Zainab became a leader in her own right, though she never sought the title. She earned the respect of the men through her actions, and many looked to her for guidance. As time passed, Zainab began to dream of escape. Though the island had become her home, she still longed for the world beyond it. She began building a raft in secret, the wind in her hair and the ocean before her. She felt a sense of exhilaration. The island had taught her many things, but most importantly, it had shown her the power of resilience and determination. Days passed as she sailed through uncharted waters. The ocean was vast and lonely, but Zainab's spirit remained unbroken. She had survived a shipwreck, 500 men, and a rebellion. She knew she could survive whatever came next. And in the distance, Zainab saw land. Her heart leaped with joy. She had made it. As she approached the shore, she realized that this was not just any land. This was her homeland, the place she had longed to return to. Zainab stepped onto the familiar soil, tears streaming down her face. She had been gone for so long, but now she was home. She knew her journey was far from over, but she also knew she was stronger than ever before. As she walked through her village, the people stared in awe. They had thought she was dead, lost at sea. But here she was, alive, stronger and wiser. Zainab smiled, knowing that her story was just beginning. Her return sparked whispers throughout the village. The tales of her survival, her leadership among 500 men, and her bravery spread like wildfire.